tere, kallid PÖFFi hundid ja tere tulemast PÖFF TV-sse. Minuga on siin filmi kuldsed hääled režissöör Evgeny Ruman. Ning enne kui me hakkame temaga intervjuud tegema, vaatame ära kõigepealt filmi treileri.
Улыбнись.
Ваше место здесь.
Открываем новую страницу жизни.
ספר לנו מה עשית היום.
Клёв.
Хотя, конечно, с вашей профессией в Израиле.
Требуются женщины с приятным голосом на высокооплачиваемую работу.
את יודעת מה אנחנו עושות פה.
Певицу ищут. Того, что было, не изменишь. Раньше этого не осознавал.
Тут все дело в терпении.
Журик!
Чего?
ты не поверишь, кто это. רק אל תגלי לאנשים את הגיל שלך.
Мне 22 года, и я девственница. С вами все в порядке, Серж?
Да, спасибо.
Этот фильм сейчас идет во всех кинотеатрах Израиля.
Это легально?
Мы интеллигентные люди.
אנחנו אנשים אינטליגנטים. זאת אומרת הם.
Каждый фильм — целый мир. Мы с тобой даем людям возможность посетить эти миры.
Ты даже не знаешь, как я выгляжу. Ты вообще не знаешь, кто я такая.
Имя, возраст, внешний вид – все это ерунда, суета.
זה רק ביזנס.
Я хотела быть главной героиней, а я даже не второстепенный персонаж. Так. Голос за кадром.
So, hello, Evgeny. Welcome to Estonia.
Hello, thank
I understand you just arrived.
Yes, just a few minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How is your first experience?
Well, I haven't been here for more than 30 years, honestly. The last time I was here I was
30
a
years?
child, yes. I was born in Minsk, and I had
Yeah.
family in Tallinn and Tartu.
Really?
So, yes. So my last memories are from age 8 or 9. I've been here.
Wow, that's
So I've
great.
been very curious to come back after so many years.
I think it's changed a lot. You will see. I hope you can get to see the city.
I hope so too.
So, I would like to begin with the beginning of the film, where the characters Raya and Victor first arrived to Israel, and they are doing it because of the Aliyah. How do you pronounce it?
Aliyah.
Aliyah. So maybe you could tell me what is exactly Aliyah?
Of course. Actually, Aliyah is a general name for Jews coming to Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, the literal translation of the word Aliyah is transcending. So going up.
Yeah.
And end of 80s, obviously Soviet Union collapsed and a lot of Soviet Jews immigrated or made Aliyah to Israel. And I was one of them. My family immigrated from Belarus, from Minsk. So, and it's funny because, you know, the term Aliyah, it's like going to some high place, to some better place. And also for many people it was like that. It was a very hard struggle because, you know, people had to change totally their life, everything they knew. The language, the food, the friends, the profession. They had to reinvent themselves, especially grown-ups. I was a kid, but I saw my parents who were, you know, engineers in Minsk, and suddenly they come to Israel, don't have the language, they don't know anything basically, and they have to become somebody else, try to reinvent themselves. And that's what the movie is about.
How old were you when you?
I was 10 years
10.
old.
So what was the biggest difference between Minsk and Israel?
Yeah, well, I guess everything, to be honest. It was just like, you know, going to another planet.
Okay.
You know, nowadays people relocate, they immigrate, they know a little bit about the country they're going to. Then we knew nothing. We knew there's a country, we knew pretty much where it's located, not exactly. And that's it, there was no information, you know, no diplomatic relations between ex-Soviet Union and Israel. So it was a lot of rumors. Basically everything.
A lot of hummus?
Rumors, yes. So, you know,
I heard hummus.
Yes, that's true, but we have to discover later. A lot of rumors and a lot of hummus. It's a good combination.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So your film talks about these golden voices. Who are the golden voices?
Yes, so my characters, our characters, Victor and Raya, as you said.
Yeah.
So in Soviet Union, they were dubbing artists. They dubbed the foreign movies that were, of course, not all the Western movies came to Soviet Union, but some did. And these movies were dubbed. And they were the voices behind the dubbing. So they were like the famous dubbing artists, but nobody knows them, but their voices are very, very familiar. But time's changing, and they're old, they're over 60, and fresh voices are needed. They have nothing to do. They're Jews, so they immigrate. They immigrate to a country that have nothing to do with their golden voices, because their only talent to dub in Russian, some foreign movies, absolutely unnecessary in Israel of 1990 at least. And they try to somehow to use their unique talent, and they find quite absurd and maybe bizarre ways to use it and somehow to start this new chapter of our lives.
So where did this idea come from for the dubbing artist idea?
My co-writer Ziv Berkovich, who's also the director of photography of the movie, he actually met a person like that, a person who was a dubbing artist in Soviet Union, and he came to Israel and he just went to totally different directions.
Okay.
And he told me about this guy, and we both thought that it can be an interesting idea for a movie. And somehow this guy, I mean, we joined it with our parents. They were not dubbing artists, they have no connection to cinema or dubbing whatsoever. But all these destinies somehow became this Victor and Raya. My parents, his parents, this dubbing guy, other people we knew, we saw as kids, we saw these grown-ups who suddenly became nobodies. And from these nobodies, they had to become somebody else.
So they're like the characters transformed into this one,
Absolutely.
two people that are actually from
two
all
or
of
three,
your...
or maybe even more. I
Yeah.
can't tell you exactly, but yeah, they became these two characters, main characters.
So how was the writing process? Did you write it together with the DOP or did you do it yourself?
Yeah, we wrote it together. We worked on it together. We discussed it together, and it's our movie basically. Mine and Ziv. We did it all from the start till the very end. I mean, at some point I directed, he shot, but we talked about it all the time, during all the process. The writing, the pre-production, the shooting, the editing, everything.
Did you know from the start that it was going to be a comedy?
I wanted it from the start to be comic, because I didn't want to do another movie about struggle of immigrants. Although I saw the struggle, and I think, it's very hard, but I don't think it's necessarily tragic. I think everywhere, in every situation, person decides upon his or her destiny. And people who immigrate, I think it's a test. It's a test for the characters. It's a test about the choices they made and didn't make in the previous life. And a lot of time has passed, 30 years. And I think now I can see the other perspective, not the tragic perspective, but the funny, the absurd perspective. And I think, immigration is tragic, whereas tragedy is also humor. I think it always goes together. And for me, it was very important to keep the humoristic, the comic part of the story throughout the whole movie.
How did you find the lead roles? How was the casting process?
So
they're great, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Happy you think so?
Yes.
So
Good
the
choices.
guy, Vladimir Friedman, I know him for a long time. He was an actor, he acted in my student film, and we've been collaborating since in different projects. So I actually wrote this role for him. I knew from the start he's going to be Victor, and I knew I'll have to make him a little bit older than he is in reality, to add him some 5, 6, 10 years, because I thought it's better for the character, for the film. And about the leading lady, who's eventually played by Maria Belkin, I had no idea. I was sure I won't find anybody. I was sure I'll have to bring actors from Russia, from Ukraine. But I found her, and she's an actress, but in Israel she became eventually a dubbing artist.
Oh,
that's her day job actually. Yes, because at some point,
So she was perfect for the role.
Yes, so it's so much about her, about a person who, didn't succeed to realize herself. as an actress and went behind the screen. So it's her first major role, first lead role.
So you found them both in Israel?
Yes, yes.
Israel.
Eventually, yes. She's an Israeli actress, and she's
Okay.
as
But
well.
are they also, like, what are their heritage? Like, are they also moved in from?
Same as me.
Same.
They came, just to give a brief historical,
Yeah.
background. During the 90s, around 1 million Soviet Jews immigrated to Israel from all over, Estonia, Belarus, Russia, Georgia, whatever. And they came in the early 90s. So they're just like me. They live in Israel for more than 25, 30 years. So we shared the same experiences. So we understood each other perfectly, didn't have to explain to them the obvious things, because we all knew exactly this time and these people and how it felt.
So there's a lot of referencing Fellini. What is your connection with Fellini?
Well, I think like every person who deals with cinema, I admire Fellini, and he's one of my favorite directors.
Yeah.
But for a movie, there's a lot of directors I like and admire. I wouldn't say Fellini is my, the number one, the top favorite. He's among them, but not. But I thought for this person, for Victor and Raya, their connection to cinema is deep, and for their generation, especially people who grew up in Soviet Union, Fellini was something special, because they had a chance to see some of his movies, and they felt this is the high art of cinema. This is like a symbol. So it was important for the story to connect them with Fellini, even more than my personal connection.
How much is it true that, like, compared to Soviet Union and Israel, like the Israelis didn't really, and it comes from your film, that they didn't really like this kind of art movies, or how was it?
Well, I think it was less common. I think like in Soviet Union, it wasn't very accessible, but there were a lot of people, who strived for it, who wanted to see it, intelligent people. Of course, in Israel there were also people, so Fellini, but I think it was not as symbolic of high art cinema as in Soviet Union. So I don't know if it's true, I don't have the statistics, but in my subjective feeling, it was true.
And the film actually won the Post Control Award from last year's PÖFF industry event.
True, yes.
How did this award help you with the completion of the film, or did it help you at all?
Well, it helped us morally. It was very nice to know that somebody think our film deserved to win it.
Okay, great.
It was a little bit difficult to use it because it was, Israel. It's easier sometimes to do some things at home.
Yeah.
But for sure it gave us a reason to come back here after 1 year, after, we've been here in post-production now we have an international premiere here of the movie, yes. So I think it's very logical to come back here after, we won this award and to screen. So I think it makes a nice circle connection.
Yeah. How is it to make films nowadays in Israel? Like, is it easy?
It's harsh.
It's harsh
because it's a small country. It's a small market eventually. And it's a struggle. It's a financial struggle, it takes a lot of time. I think, I don't think Israel is very unique in this. I think a lot of small or medium-sized countries have the same issues.
I think everybody's struggling making films.
But unfortunately, for the last years, the budgets are getting lower.
Oh.
Not significantly, but it reduces the same percentage. So yeah, it's not getting any easier. But the strong ones survive.
I'm glad you're strong.
I'm trying to be. I'm not sure how long will I keep.
There is also the fact that the film is like a jump, like from like a 30. It's like a history piece almost. Like it's a 30 years
piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
how difficult was it to create this atmosphere of the 90s Israel?
It was quite difficult because it's funny because Israel it's a country of present and future.
Yeah.
So when you're
and
going
technology.
to the past, we don't have like big warehouses with all the things kept. So we had to find everything. It was very, very important for us, for me, for Ziv, for production designer, that everything will be exact. and it's very different. But I just as Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries.
Yeah, I see.
And I was listening to this podcast of the creator, and he was telling how much was important for him every detail. And he said, because I wanted that the people who lived there, they will respect it. That I was very precise in every detail, and that's a little bit how I felt. I mean, I guess the crowd in Estonia or in some other country, it's not very important for them. Was the telephone in Israel exactly like this or not like this?
Of course, but it's important.
But it was important for me, and I knew it will be important for people who lived this then. Because, the film has some kind of sentimental, nostalgic touch. And I think all these things that are not existing, do not exist anymore, but exist in the film. So it was not easy, but I think we succeeded to bring everything just the way it was then.
And I really like the cinematography of the film. So also the writer, the cinematographer. How was it to work together in these images? How did you?
We're also good friends, besides our professional collaboration. I mean, I think we both had a very clear vision of the movie. Of the colors, of the tempo, of the compositions. It was very clear from it's a big advantage that he was a part of the developing process in the script, because I think already in the script, people who read it, they knew exactly how it's going to look. It was written. So we just, took what we've imagined and wrote and just, tried to make it exactly as we both thought it should be from the start. So this collaboration made it, I think, easier to convey to images these ideas we had.
So who did you make this film for? Would you say the people that moved to Israel at that time, or obviously target audience in a way?
I never know about this target audience. I think it's for other people to decide. We dedicated the film to our parents eventually, because when we finished it, we felt it's a little bit for them. Sometimes it's easier to say for artists, or so-called artists, it's easier to say some things through the things they do, through the art, and not directly. So I think the appreciation we felt towards the path we chose and how they dealt with it, I think that's the most important thing eventually for me, this movie. So it's for them. And for everybody else, of course,
that's nice.
Young, old, whoever.
Everybody. For my mother also. I
you?
recommend it to her.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's it. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Minuga oli stuudios filmi Kuldsed hääled režissöör Evgeny Ruman. Ja filmi saab veel näha neljapäeval 28. novembril Tartu Ateena keskuses ja pühapäeval 1. detsembril kinos Artis. Nii et minge kindlasti kinno ja vaadake seda filmi.